Doing it.
And we are live.
Hey, folks.
All right, so I have no idea how we're going to do this.
Well, we've never done it before, but
I guess,
it's a thing of
no,
awesome,
yeah.
so it'll take care of itself.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I guess you restating your position basically about
Yeah.
sequels.
Well,
And we go from there.
well, yeah, sure. If anybody listening and watching has read Tenkar's Tavern, my little blog, I recently had a post that stirred a lot of talk in the old school gaming area with other blog posts popping up and Facebook comments because I detest secret doors not so much because they are part of D&D's tropes, but I think it's a very overused trope in my opinion. Uh, and that is my stand. It's not that there shouldn't be a secret door in a dungeon. There shouldn't be a dozen. And personally believe my stand is that before you opt for a secret door, you should probably go for a concealed one first, where player uh, we- a well played game session by the players can reveal the door as opposed to a lucky roll. Not saying that luck doesn't have a part in it. It is D&D, of course, and I'm not saying that we should take that part out. But I do think that for the most part, secret doors are over. Now, of course, uh, Benoist has a slightly different opinion, and that's why we are here today. And we might be here a lot of times doing this on different topics if this works well. And look who comes back. You had enough treats, Ashley, or you ate them all? I'll give you the whole bag next time. Nobody wants to see your butt, girl.
We do have some areas of agreement. Like when you talk about concealed doors, there should be. Personally, I see all these kind of elements, like concealed doors, secret doors, one-way doors. In my opinion, I see all these elements as pieces of a toolbox, a network to explore. Right.
Right.
Each of those tools has a specific use. It's going to be good for certain things and not so good for certain things. So, for instance, when you aim as a DM, an area that is not ready found,
right,
found by players just looking into the right place, then you have to use a concealed door. That's basically what it's for. So basically, the difference between a concealed door and a secret door, that's one is simply a door that is hidden by a feature of the dungeon, whether that is a drape, a statue,
closet, armoire, whatever.
Whereas a secret door would be undistinguishable from the rest of the wall, right? So that's basically the basic difference. Now, at the level of the game system, that has an impact, and that means that those two elements are used for different things. Actually, I was rereading like all the talk of doors.
Yeah, I saw you sharing a few screenshots earlier.
Yeah, and that was particularly interesting because I had actually forgotten that in a dungeon by default, right? If you're read by the book, first edition, right? It's supposed to be hard to open. If you remember in the player handbook, you have that table for strength, ability where you roll a six-sider, right, to open a door.
Right.
And in my experience, most DMs use it for doors that are supposed to be hard to open. What I had forgotten personally is that it's supposed to be by default all doors are hard to open in this way. You have to roll the six-sider for each and every door.
Right. And only the highest exceptional strength of fighters gave you the ability to open up locked doors or wizard locked doors. You had to be 1891 or better.
Yeah. So just opening the door, you have to roll your six-sider with your strengths, right? If you want to destroy the door with axes and stuff, it's got some specific advice for that. Up to 3 people would take a full turn to destroy a door. So all that to say, in regards to secret doors, they behave like normal doors. They are hard to open. You can't detect them by just rolling a die. You have to actually actively search for them, unless you're an elf, right? Because the elf can walk around. You got like a sprint, basically.
Well, I think they were 1 in 6 chance if they're not actively looking, and twice the normal chance if they are looking.
That's 1-2 on a d6 to basically notice.
Right, just have
that's
to
nothing
look
not
by.
right around here.
Yeah.
They think that something is not right, and that means that there must be a secret passage. Right. All right. So already you have to search for them actively, and then when you do, then you roll the 6-sider to determine whether you found them, and that's 1-2 on a d6 by default for all party members, but the elf, that's 1-4. Now, what's interesting is that it's advised in the Dungeon Master's Guide to vary the probabilities. That whether a door is more or less easily found, you just change the die type. So, for instance, you could have a secret door that could be automatically found by elves if you use the d4 instead of a d6.
Okay. If
you want the door to be more harder to find, use d8, d10, and so on. Right? So, yeah. An interesting aspect of this as well is that monsters, that is anything that's danger to the player character, that's not a player character, are not subject to those rules at all. They know automatically where the doors are, and they can open them without rolling dice. So right there, we set the secret door starts to move around. That's not automatically available for the player characters. And that has an interesting impact on what kind of movement the enemy could be making around the player characters.
Well, that definitely shows the war game roots of D&D in that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. The whole idea to explore the dungeon, Dave Arneson is the one that basically came up with this idea, right? To place the game in the underworld, in the underground, and yeah, that's just shifting the battlefield, right? So that instead of having a wide open field where anything and everything is possible, you can have corridors, and therefore build, to know where and what the player characters will be doing. That's a way to control the flow of the game in a way.
Right.
And the secret door plays into that, because we were saying by the way, one secret door but not 12.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the reverse. I would like if that makes sense to justify secret doors in the maze, then you should put many of them. Some of them, the more probability there is that the party will find some of them, which will ensure that if you have not one party exploring the place, but let's assume this is a dungeon in which parties will come and go,
right,
and change, right, and the place will be explored and restocked and used in the campaign over and over and over. That ensures that each time a party goes into the place, it may find different passes of exploration. Therefore, the gameplay is going to change every time, right? And that's a tool that brings more variation, more diversity.
Right, and I can see that in how the games were played when Gary was writing the rules, and you had your party could vary as opposed to who was testing it. But and again, we're bringing our own perspective and our own biases in. For me, somebody who was coming into this now, I started playing with AD&D. I used to read those rules to put myself to sleep at night, numerous years. And even with that, there was stuff that I keep on finding now as an adult going back that I'm like, there's what rule and where? But I find, for me, that a lot of the newer dungeons that are written not for a campaign where there are numerous players and people swapping in and out between sessions, but you have your steady group of 4 to 6, and you're going back every time. That secret doors. See, if a player can't get, if they can't open a stuck door on a dice roll, they're gonna break out their spikes. They'll break out a crowbar and a hammer. They will get that. They'll make noise getting it open, but they'll get it open.
Yeah,
A secret door that isn't
that's right.
found isn't found,
Hmm.
which to me is an issue. Now, and it isn't found not because they didn't search everywhere. It just wasn't found because they just failed to roll. My problem is I have seen uh, recently, and I say recent, within the beginning of the OSR, or whatever you want to call the old school revival, the last 10 years, adventures where the big treasure, the big get, is hidden behind a secret door. That the players don't find it, they will be missing out on the main treasure. And I personally, whether as a player or as a DM, I don't like that. Now, if it's hidden behind a concealed door, it's hidden behind a curtain, the armoire, it's beneath the rug, under the bed, the door. If they miss that, that's on them, and I'm okay with my players missing stuff if they miss it. I have an issue if they miss stuff because yes, Ashley, you follow the camera no matter where I put it. But if they miss stuff because of only having a 1 in 6 chance of finding when actively leaking. Now, totally off top. Well, not totally off topic. When I was a teen, when I was 16, 17, I used to say, "Well, we think there's a secret door over here." And so as a player, I'd be like, "All right, well, secret doors are going to have gaps that we can't see." So why don't I just empty my bladder on the wall over here and see if I can see a crack revealing a secret door?
That's the kind of thing as a GM I love. I love when players come up with stuff like that.
And I'll be honest with you,
That
but I used
I
to,
love it.
I would abuse the crap out of that
Yeah,
uh, because that really wasn't the intention either. Now, the other thing is classically, if you go to movies, secret doors are usually hidden behind. You got to find the pin or the pull. Like you might know the door is there. I get, and that's like I don't have an issue with. If you're gonna have a secret door where the players can find logically find where the door is, but not be able to find how to open it because of a failure to roll or failure to look properly, I'm fine with
yeah.
that too. It's just that when all player skill is taken out of it, and I guess that's something that we didn't worry about as much either when I was playing, and not just because I was a teen, because I think a lot of ways gameplay has evolved. We don't play a mega dungeon the same way that Castle Greyhawk was played back in the day.
No,
We
most
have
people
different
don't.
right. We have different expectations. I know I don't play like I played back in the day, and I don't do dungeons where I fill in every box and you can figure out where the secret doors are because wow, on this hex sheet there's only 3 boxes that weren't filled in on our map.
No.
There must be secret door leading to each one of them. You know.
Yeah, that's like I mean the way they play the game, and that's not something you can control, right? I mean,
Right.
at the same time, it might lead to some misconceptions about the way things used to be played, right? Some people might remember the really crappy game they used to play with that shitty DM that was an asshole, right?
Mm-hmm.
And come to the conclusion that all old school was about this killer DM that was abusing the players all the time, right? Or that to explore a mega dungeon, you need to have an enormous amount of time. The players
An accurate map down to the exact details. That's how
yeah.
and that's how I when I was a kid, teenager, college student, that's how we played. Now my players are just as happy to go with a scratched out map that they're hopefully, I guess they're assuming they're not looking for features on the map that would indicate a hidden area. But whereas when I played 30 years ago, we did the map hoping to use the map to find those hidden areas. And I guess it's a different expectation. I'm thinking that it's a change that happened with. Remember, the old school kind of thrives on the fact that it was built off 3.5 in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
We wouldn't have it without the OGL. So I'm sure there are some modern uh, tropes that have come in and supplanted the older tropes from 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Sure. But I think you, in regards to secret doors, you brought up a very important aspect of this. That's what you expect, like how you visualize the gameplay. That is what you expect from the game. Will shape how you can use secret doors or not, right? So in your example, like when you have like this one group of say four to six people
Mhm.
that come every week to play and all that, absolutely, like you're gonna have to temper your use of the secret door to make it or one, never place the main treasure of the adventure behind the secret door, right? It's like this old common wisdom thing. Don't make the players make a roll if you're not ready to have them fail.
Right. And at the same time,
Yeah.
don't hide something behind the secret door that you hope the party will never find. Because if they
Mhm.
do find it and now it's unbalancing, you're the one that put it there in the first place.
So use the secret door, but use it for things that the party can afford to miss. Side passages to avoid a specific challenge, or a minor side track, or something that might be interesting but is not critical to the resolution of the scenario you're running, right? Stuff like that. Otherwise, find a way to use something like a secret door, like maybe a concealed door or something else, but that is readily obvious to the players. Like, say, it was a secret door, but it's been busted open by a bugbear some years ago, right? And you can still see that the secret door has been blown away. Like that, the party finds it, right?
That's pretty cool, actually. I like that.
Yeah. So to visualize the dungeon in a kind of living space, right? But then, yeah, again, like that depends also like how you justify the use of the secret doors. I mean, for instance, like if you have a castle, it makes sense to include some secret doors as escape routes. That was common, right? Or as means to move from one area of the castle to another while avoiding the most public areas. For instance, in Versailles, the castle of Versailles, you had all these side corridors so that the king could visit the queen without going through any public areas, right?
Nice.
So that makes sense. In the sense of the dungeon, as like when I'm talking dungeon, by the way, I'm really talking of the old school dungeon, right? What people now call the mega dungeon, right?
Right.
That is like most modules that are published today with small-ish mazes would qualify as layers in terms of first edition, right?
Right.
Not really dungeon. So yeah, in the case of dungeons, in the hobby shop dungeon stuff, the way we justify that is that there's a whole history that goes with the history of the area, right, of the world. Some wizards and witches and so on in the ancient past started building these labyrinthine mazes for giant arcane symbols to use the energy of the earth, right? So imagine that the entire dungeon is like a sigil or some kind of pentacle to use magic, right? So that's why you'd have all these corridors that branch in all sorts of direction. No real rhyme or reason that is readily seen. Explore it, right? Super confusing and all that. So in that case, you could have secret doors that are in the weirdest places, and that would not make really sense. You see what I mean? Like you would have a secret door in the middle of a wall with two openings on both sides. Like, why is there a secret door here if you can go on each side of the wall, right? You can do things like that.
Well, yeah, and that
But
makes
yeah.
that makes sense if the dungeon is built with that in mind. That makes perfect sense. I just think that there is an overuse of them. And again, and if they were used as an escape route, like it was built for an escape route for something like that, it makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
If it's just thrown in
Yeah.
to lead to an empty room, or to cut, 10 feet off a corridor, you wonder why it's there. And again, like I said before, if it hides the big treasure, well, then that's really
But then, well, either you justify it after the fact, like
right.
with the explanation I was doing, for instance, about magic and whatnot,
Yeah.
or yeah, you just roll with it, and that's the classic setup of the Mad Wizard, right? Oh,
Right.
the guy who built it was insane.
He was saying he put secret doors everywhere because that's just how he
No,
was.
like,
And
which okay,
that fits the expectations of the Mad Wizard.
that's right. Yeah, and yeah, but in any case, actually putting secret doors like by 10 the room that are empty or stuff like that actually can be useful after the fact. That is, if they find the room, the 10 by 10 room, they could hide in there for 8 hours.
Oh yeah, no,
right?
definitely.
So that can be a kind of a meta game reason for the thing to be there.
Right. And also,
But,
I don't have an issue if you're going to throw some secret doors and then maybe give the opportunity for the players to find a fragment of a map that hints at one or two of them. That makes it a bit more of the gameplay. It makes them excited. They're going to be finding something that maybe they weren't going to find otherwise. That actually isn't a bad idea. That's actually, see, that's how. I guess my issue is I don't like secret doors for just the sake of throwing secret doors in. If there's a reason for them, or whether the dungeon is created by somebody that's madly insane, or whether it's there for an escape route, or it's there as a place for the person who created it as a hole to hole up in if he was invaded, little place to hide and hunker down in. Just I guess I need to know why it's there, or what's the reasoning behind it, as opposed to just the guy drawing a map.
You mean in the game? You mean in the game world, or in terms of outside of the game world, in terms of gameplay, or both?
No. If it's in there because of a game world reason, I can justify it even as a GM. It makes sense.
So that's the game world reason. Yeah.
It's a game world. As for a gameplay reason, that actually means less to me. If there's a reason why it was there, there's a historical, and if there's a quote historical reason, maybe you give the players an opportunity to find out about it through gameplay. Like I said, they might find a map scrap. They might have the opportunity to grab a prisoner who knows about it. Personally, although Gary was fine with having all of his creatures in the dungeon know where all the secret doors are, and I would have that as something that would be limited by proximity or some. If it's the goblins, you know what? Maybe all the goblins know the secret doors because that's how they survive. That's how they're able to run around the dungeon.
I think when you read especially the Dungeon Master's Guide, right? Like, when you read the original book, the Underworld and Wilderness of Adventures, it's volume 3 of the original game. The paragraph on secret doors and traps is actually fairly short, right? General idea of it. Whereas the Dungeon Master's Guide goes into like almost a page of it, right?
Right.
And it's very obvious that when you read the description, that it's meant to be extrapolated on. That is, you're not supposed to use all the time the same type of secret door, right? So meaning you're supposed to adapt the type of secret door you use for the situation. Saying, for instance, the goblins know about it, but the barbarian does not.
Right.
Because he came in later in the dungeon. Or this door is especially old and is actually extremely hard to open and requires a 1 on 12. to open, or stuff like that, right?
Right.
The same way that this the idea of the phasing doors, right? Some doors would be magical at specific moments and
Okay.
disappear,
Like in
right?
Moonlight and stuff like that, they only appear.
Yeah. So so the concealed door is another one. Trap doors, that's another thing. That's all that my point was. It's clearly meant to be played with by the DM, right? And creating variants of it. So not all secret doors would actually behave in the default way.
Which is cool.
Like,
well, again, that's giving it a reason within the game world, and that's good.
So it would fit. It would fit exactly the situation, right? And yeah, like I don't know, when you were playing the game and all that, like and still now, I guess. What's your experience? Like how when you say, "Oh, I searched this 10x10 area," does the DM generally make you just roll the die without asking you anything?
Well,
or
as a GM, I don't let them roll the die. I roll the die because I don't want them to know that there wasn't a door there at the same time.
That's right.
But again, it depends. It depends. If they're searching a hallway where there's nothing of any kind of note, yeah, you're searching the hallway. If they're in a room, I say, all right, well, where are you searching? Are you searching by the bed? What are you What are you doing? If they're, if it's hidden behind the bed and they're flipping the bed, they're gonna now. The idea too could be that they could find the door, but not find the mechanism. The door might be obvious; it's the mechanism that might be hidden.
That's right. Basically, the Dungeon Master's Guide makes this very point. Basically, that finding a secret door, you automatically find a mechanism that opens it. And that could be something completely different. And there it makes it very clear that you should ask the player how they open it. That is, I try to turn the scones. Is the explicit example in the text. But yeah, that's actually very like separated. The two does not mean that you find a mechanism for it.
Right.
I'm kind of like you like this. Like personally, when I run the game, I first want to hear how you're searching.
Right.
What are you searching? What are you touching? What are you doing? And then I'm gonna roll the die, and depending on what they describe to me, I might make the find more easy or harder.
Right.
If they're not just searching in the right place, I might still roll the die, but there's no chance of finding anything, right?
Well, that's the whole secret to running a game. It's running dice when you don't really need to keep the illusion going.
Yeah, there's a whole a whole illusionism that goes with running the game. Not necessarily, I wouldn't say to get out of your way to screw the players, but to keep the suspense going.
Yeah.
And to not give that would be meta, that the characters wouldn't know because they can't see the DM in the game world, right? You see what I mean? So yeah, that's why you have to keep these kind of things going, right? So
it's like playing the game with a poker face. The DM has to maintain that poker face if you're going to maintain the illusion.
I think regarding the secret doors, the what you want to, how do you see the gameplay as a DM, and how the type of game you run, and the type of sites you put in your game for what purpose matters a lot. If your dungeon is a huge dungeon, mega dungeon, and Kraken, right, and it's a site that's visited time and time again, then you can load the place with secret doors and all sorts of goodies that can be found months later.
Like something like Barrow Maze is perfectly made for drop in, drop out gameplay with different groups. And I could see secret door. Well, you can bust through a wall, so basically everything's a secret door. But and then
whereas if you're running, say, find the son of the prince, a type of adventure with a clear goal, a scenario, and the son of the prince is held prisoner in the lair of the bugbears. right? And the Lair of the Bird is a small affair, still kind of the journey, but contained. Then you will want to avoid secret doors in general, so that the adventure is not missed, right? Because that would suck. That would, So knowing what you're actually running matters a lot in this.
So basically, what you're saying is that we basically, we agree on the bread and butter of secret doors. Maybe disagree to how much butter to put on the bread, but
and I think and probably our gameplay experiences are slightly different.
That's just coming from our own biases. Everybody has biases when it comes to gameplay.
Absolutely.
But
and generally, when people, it happens time and time again, right? When people talking about Dungeons and Dragons say, "I absolutely hate this stuff," right? When generally, if you dig hard enough, assuming that you can talk to them and they won't blow in your face, that will because that happens, right? There are people that
I know it does.
Off, but assuming you can talk to them, the more you dig, sooner or later you're gonna fall back on a specific gameplay, on a specific way they play the game that makes this thing particularly obnoxious to them.
Right.
The fairly obvious stuff that comes to mind in that regard is level limits.
Oh yeah.
In the end, okay, you're gonna have these people who come out and lots of people who say level limits suck. It's horrible. Whoever got that idea is a moron, blah, blah. Then you start digging and you find out that they're running campaigns in a fairly modern style where you have one cast of characters that goes on the big adventure to save the world and whatnot, right? And level limits were created, obviously, in a completely different context, running group after group in open world situations.
You do the same players. This is basically a whole other episode we could do. You know that.
Yeah. I'm absolutely open to that, right? Yeah, we could do that. But but the point. So we're gonna keep the whole topic for a later conversation, perhaps. But whatever kind of big disagreement you have, or when people are extremely passionate in a negative, possibly in a positive way as well, but when they're really negative about something, generally it comes down to the way they play makes that thing either obsolete, obnoxious for some reason. It goes against the way they visualize the game.
That's a good point. Wow.
Secret Doors is the same way, right?
Yeah, no, and my opinion of Secret Doors, of course, has changed as my gameplay has probably changed over the years too. And that's going to probably be it wouldn't even be a point counterpoint, but we could have a real discussion on how gameplay has changed from when we played it when it first came out, and they were still playing old school games, but we don't play it the same way or our expectations aren't the same as they were when we were playing AD&D back in 1979, 1980. It's changed over the interim years.
You would have asked the very same question. We would have discussed the very same topic in 2002. Come up with a completely different set of answers, right? Because at that time, I just came back to Third Edition. Third Edition D&D is what got me back in gaming after the break. And at that time, I was running, a fairly by-the-book Third Edition game.
Right.
And so I probably have talked about encounter levels and whatnot. Expectations of parties with a thief, for iconic characters, basically all the assumptions of the Third Edition game, right? So the answers will vary, and but I was when I started gaming, that was actually I'm kind of a split case. Because people always ask me, what are you doing with Honest Gygax when you're so young? And it's because I started gaming in 1988.
Right.
I was 11 at the time. And my first DM was actually my much older cousin in school at the time. and he was running a run-of-the-mill first edition game.
Really?
Like, Temple of Elemental Evil.
Oh,
And
I
actually
ran that numerous times.
Yeah. So I started gaming, playing solo, exploring the wilderness between Omelette and the Temple of Elemental Evil. And I died, I don't know how many times. That's to tell you how old school the DM was, right? Basically, he was not pulling punches. If I was doing something stupid, I would die. Like, I remember a very famous, that stayed with me. Like, at the time, I didn't know what ogres were. And I found a cave with two ogres arguing with one another. And foolishly, I thought, well, since they're arguing, they're not paying attention, so I'm going to backstab one. Right? And I was a level 1 character, a cleric, I think. And so I thought, hey, I'm going to take on two ogres level 1, right? What could go wrong? Right? And obviously, I died the second round.
Oh, well.
Punched me, and I died, right? But you learn, right? That's how you learn.
You might have done pretty well on my first couple of months GMing, because I had the player's handbook and the DMG, so I didn't have the monster manual. So I only had the monster statistics in the back of the DMG, and I didn't know there was a difference between hit dice and hit points. So I thought the ogres were 4 + 1 hit points, 5 hit points. I just couldn't understand why they didn't just say 5.
Gee, so I should have started with you.
Yeah, you would have lasted a lot longer.
That's right.
I didn't realize the difference. Part of me wants to say I didn't know the difference since I picked up the Fiend Folio, but I think I saw friends the Monster Manual, and I went, oh, we've been doing this wrong. Needless to say, my players were really pushing through those first few levels pretty quickly. But no, Ben, this was good, man. I think we've hit upon something with these live streams, man. This is good.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. Yeah, for me that's also useful because that keeps the. Right, I love that because this week has been kind of crappy for me in the writing on the Marmorol Tome, and that helps with the.
Getting the mind going. Yeah, dude. I've been fighting a bad cold all week, so if I sound like crap, that's part of the reason. But this has certainly woken me up today. It's nice.
I'm trying to think about what we could have missed about Secret Doors.
I think we tapped away on it.
Yeah, so Secret Doors. At the end of the day, I think that's very very specific to play style.
No, I'd have to. I guess it really depends on the direction you're coming at them. Literally, because if you come from behind a secret door, it's not secret. It's because most secret doors are only secret one way.
I think. The one-way door. That's. I wanted to touch on that. The one-way door and there's a secret one-way door.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Which is absolutely that's a trait of genius to have put that in the original game. And somehow, as a collective gamers, we have forgotten the art of the one-way door, right? Because this is genius. It means that when you create passes of exploration in the dungeon, you can have actually, that doesn't mean that it works every time in the same sense. So you can add layers of complexity to the way the place is explored by only using one-way doors in some specific places, right? Mm-hmm. Where some parts of the dungeon might be only available from one direction, not another.
I like that.
It's those kind of things. And I love the idea of it. It's just, it's hardly used now. Or another thing that's hardly used in dungeons now, that's the moving blocks. That's something that you'll find if you look at old maps from Rob Kuntz or Ernie, people like that, you'll find those blocks of 10 by 10 or 20 by 20 feet of rock that can move around and block some corridors or others depending on where they are. And each time the party comes into an area, you roll a die, generally a d4, and that determines where the block is at a specific moment.
Interesting. Okay.
right? So going back to this area, it will look different with different corridors open. It's going to be accurate anymore. You see? You're like, what the hell is going on in this place?
It's like
you will wonder.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
Some players are going to say, well, we've been teleported here, right? When in fact that's just a block that moved. This is hilarious when you see that in actual gameplay. This is hilarious. I love this kind of thing. That's an art that's been like drawing the map. How many gamers nowadays exploring a dungeon actually draw the map for themselves? That.
Right.
Like,
because
this
nowadays,
is a 20 by 30 room.
Right. 20 north south, 30 east east west.
A door
in the middle of this. Yeah. And then
how you runs the game like this. Yeah. And it is hilarious. There's a mapper drawing the map and various moments of exploration where the map is wrong, or the mapper starts saying, there's a hole here, there must be a secret door somewhere here. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is funny.
That's how gameplay was. That's how gameplay was when I was, my first generation of gaming. I'm in my second generation of gaming.
That's yourself.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Certainly did. And now most of my gaming is on the VTT, where I use Fog of War and reveal it for my players, and nobody mapping. And then if I use a scanned map, I gotta worry about oh geez, there's secret doors here. Hopefully they're only indicated on one side of the square, because otherwise I'm gonna have to do some real creative reveal to not show where the secret doors are.
Yeah.
But well, this is good, man. All right, so I think I should mention to folks that Benoist can be found on GP Adventures, his Facebook group.
And
I can be found on Tavern.
And Google Plus.
Yeah. Okay, and I can be found on Tenkar's Tavern on Facebook and on the blog. If since I think we're going to be doing this on a semi-irregular basis, if you have
we were
if you have topics you want us to carry, just drop it into one of our communities. Start a discussion about it. Right now on my Discord channel, they're talking about min-maxing.
Okay. And that's a great idea. Like if you have topics to propose that we could discuss and stuff, comments.
Drop it in the comments on the YouTube channel, or go to our Facebook communities. Start a discussion. And
should people min-max in this game? Is min-maxing a bad thing?
Well, I don't even start me on it right now. We'll be talking for another hour. It's a whole other show, man. We all right, hold on a second. Pause. Record the next one. No, I mean, we've got a lot of stuff that we can actually cover, and we want to cover topics that our communities want us to talk about. So
level limits. Can paladins kill baby orcs?
Oh god, that, and why isn't that always came up in the campaigns back in the day? When I was in high school, it came up. I'm killing every group I know has had the can paladins kill baby orcs discussion.
I posted that very question once on Facebook on my wall, and it turned into a shit show of epic proportions.
Oh my god, I'm sure.
Like it was. I was like, whoa.
And you would have gotten different answers, 35 years ago than you're going to get now, too.
That's right.
Sure. Wow. But if you enjoyed us, folks, we'll be back with more of this. Wonderful.
That's right, exactly. We're going to come back later with this. All right. So, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, folks. Thank you very much. That was awesome, Ben.